Hi, reading group. I hope you guys are doing well. The topic that we're going to be exploring this week in reading is working with students who are often considered ESL. So that's one of our foundational terms, a term that you might be familiar with, students who speak English as a second language. But as you're going to notice in the reading for this week, there are a lot of different terms and acronyms for these students, some that might better define these students. So students who speak English as an additional language, or it's often simplified as ELL, so students who are English language learners. So we're not just assuming that this is only their second language. And this is a topic that you most likely have limited experience with. Some of you may be ESL minors. We do have an ESL endorsement, so if this topic is particularly interesting to you, I'll put in a plug that you're welcome to come and talk to me about that more, because we do offer an ESL endorsement. But for those of you who have not had a lot of experience with this, this will give you a chance to think about the literacy needs of those students. And you might be thinking or have seen this topic and thought, well, that probably isn't going to affect me because I'm not planning to teach in a district where there is going to be a lot of students who are English language learners. However, one of my students who had the most experience with this is a student who was placed out at Watseka, which is very rural, and ended up having two students in two of her classes whose family had just moved from Mexico, who were very limited speakers in terms of speaking English. And so somebody who really did not think that would be an experience that she would have was put into a student teaching experience where that was very much the case. So I mentioned that just to say that even if you are not, one of your teaching goals is to work in a district where students do not speak English as their first language, we know that that's becoming more and more common, and so it may be something that you might need to know in the future. So of course, with just 1 week of exploring this topic, the expectation is not that you are now going to become experts in ESL. And in fact, at your schools should have ESL experts within their districts, so you will have somebody who will be able to help guide and support you. But the strategies that you're going to be learning about for this week are related to literacy specifically, but then also in general, things that teachers can do within their regular classroom environment to help support these students, to help show them that you appreciate them, you respect them, that you value them, and ways that you can kind of build that environment within your classroom. So while, yes, there are some specific strategies, and part of what you're going to be looking at for this week asks you to look at some resources that you can kind of bookmark as you're building and contributing tools to your teacher toolbox. It may even just be, taking note of these, bookmarking them, and so that when they would be of use to you in the future, that you are able to come back to it. And then we're going to tackle some of those larger principles for working with students who are English language learners. So in order to do so this week, everybody is going to be reading from the same course textbook, since the other books for music and math don't have chapters specific to working with ESL students. As usual, we will have our weekly discussion. I would love to see as many of you at that as possible. It's been really wonderful, rich conversations. I've thoroughly enjoyed the Wednesday morning session. So if you haven't had a chance to participate yet, I'd encourage you to jump into the discussion, because you'll get a chance to hear maybe more authentically, dynamically from your classmates as they are sharing their different ideas. Also, in addition to discussion, you all will be, as you do every week, working on an assignment. And for this week specifically, you are going to be using an example from the Hinchman text where they break down some mini lessons, and you are going to be creating kind of two different mini lessons where you will be talking about some of the ELL strategies that you felt like were the most applicable to your content area or most applicable to the topic that you're choosing. And you guys are going to get to choose a topic that you'd say you would be teaching in your classroom. And I gave you a little reminder of some of the strategies that you guys ran across this week in the reading. So that's it for the work for this week, and I'm looking forward to chatting with many of you on Wednesday on this topic of ESL.